WNST Towson Ravens have defeated the Cincinnati Bengals. They can't lose till Sunday, and the Browns are coming to town. This is just it's like a Hallmark month. I mean, we've even had decent weather around here, as god-awful as it's been in other places. But good weather is all part of this guy's game. He is a golf aficionado, and, of course, at Compass Point, we're going to talk some golf, and we're going to talk a little bit of certainly President's Cup and all that stuff. But you want to talk college football, Robert Kennedy, don't you?
Yeah, Nestor, how are you? I'd like to show I'm a little bit diversified, other than just golf and basketball. I did get a little local football flavor in this past weekend as I was down at, I still call it Bird Stadium. They can call it Capital One Field if they want or whatever. But
I call it Bird Stadium, too. And I always call it Bird Stadium.
Everyone still does,
sure.
And I think most of us always will. So, yeah, so I was down for the Towson, Maryland game, which it wasn't much of a game after a while, but it's about what the Terps would have hoped for, and really good showing by them on all accounts, and they're 2-0 and off to the races.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know that it's anything negative about Towson, and certainly the last time they went down there, Towson had a real chance to win that game. I mean, Towson, hit a long pass out of bounds that the kid had his feet in bounds. I think Towson could have pulled the upset on a pretty dreary day. This was, kind of the opposite of that. This was David and Goliath, and I guess for where the Terps are at this point in beating Texas, it's turned the radar on in the same way that the Ravens going not just to Cincinnati and squeaking out some sort of ugly win, but a real difference-making kind of win, and I think that the Maryland win is the same thing, and this is the time of the year where your radar goes up, and I know you're down there at Compass Point. There's a lot of Redskin fans around there. They're not feeling the same as Raven fans are right now, that's for sure.
Oh, no, and we are predominantly Ravens around this area.
Hey, man, it's Pasadena. I know, man.
Exactly. I happen to be kind of more on the Redskin side, but I'm definitely in the minority here. But, yeah, it was it's funny. We schedule a lot of our events and our tee times and everything around the Ravens schedules, as just about probably every business in the area does. We know when the Ravens are at home on a Sunday, chances are our tee sheet's not going to be very busy, so we do things to accommodate
that. Literally, there's no one out there who's a golfer who's not a football fan. There's walking around a golf course at 2:30 on a Sunday when the Ravens are playing, that your place is a little bit of a ghost town. There's no crosser. See, it would seem to me that if I was a golf person who wasn't a football fan, that would be the ideal time to go out and golf, right?
Oh, it absolutely is, and we definitely get those. We have those type of people that look forward to this time of year for that exact reason. They can come out and, on a Sunday afternoon and a Sunday morning get around. But the crossover is dramatic,
though, right? Like 90% of the people who usually golf won't golf. In the same way that, I won't attend a wedding on a Sunday in the fall. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. I don't do anything on Sundays in the fall other than football. That's what I do. It's my life.
Yeah, it's what the majority of sports fans set their schedule around, from September through the end of January. So, and on Saturdays if you're a college town. So, I think it definitely, going back to the Maryland, they definitely caught everyone's attention with that win at Texas. And then, people like, okay, well, let's see, make sure they don't, sleepwalk through Towson and stumble. And they certainly didn't do that. They came out, put 21 points on the board in the first 9 minutes. And Towson did have there was a second quarter, I think there was a little bit of a let up and Towson got into it, but it was never a game. I mean, then they came out. Maryland scored on 5 touchdowns on its first 5 possessions, I believe, in the second half, and it was, one of the most convincing wins they've had in many, many years.
Well, Towson has scheduled several of these, right? And whether it was Northwestern one year running out there, and they've taken on some money games and gotten their teeth kicked in. So I mean, but that's part of what Rob Ambrose is doing over there. That this is a game to measure themselves and bigger, stronger, faster. And I think also, for the Terps, if they're going to put that kind of game on their schedule, why not play Towson? Why not play Delaware? Why not play something local that would have a little extra pep in the step like a Maryland Navy game would? I've often wondered sometimes over 30 years about the kind of opponents you book. And even on the basketball side, Towson and Maryland, but it's always a chance to be upset. It's always a chance to be embarrassed and all that. For me, I like the local on local. I've always been that guy.
I'm right there with you. I have as well, and I think it was a great thing. And, Towson, you're right, does this as many of the FCS schools did. A couple of years ago, they went down and played at LSU, one of the guarantee games. And, but to do it in your backyard against a team where you're going to have the neighborhood and the office, bragging rights and everything at stake. And it was really cool to see, DJ Jerkins' comments afterwards. I'm sorry, Ambrose's comments about Maryland afterwards, that he's a Maryland fan, except for one game this year. And he said, just to watch these guys, DJ Moore and Ty Johnson and everything was a thrill to him. And he said he'll love watching them, the rest of the season. And that was after, getting his, pretty much butt kicked by them. So, for him to have that approach going into the game and to be that realistic and everything about it, I think says a lot for him there in the program, that he's built at Towson. And
they moved the ball a little bit in the second quarter, right? I mean, they had a little gusto, a little fight back in them after the touchdown, and then then the turnovers and
right. It took them a while to get their bearings, I think, in the big environment, and they were starting a freshman. Granted, he's a redshirt freshman, but it was his first college start, and he actually showed very well overall for the afternoon. So. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It was a great day, like you said, for the two local teams. And, Maryland's got one more non-conference game, I guess, coming up against Central Florida in a couple of weeks. And then they'll get ready for the Big Ten.
Yeah, and Towson gets ready for their schedule. We got Robert Kennedy here. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter, and our partner at Compass Point Golf Course down in Pasadena. If you want to book some tee times there, go to Compass Point Golf. That's Compass Point with a T-E. The E is silent there. That stands for errors on the golf course. You take that out. CompassPointGolf.com. You can find Robert down there, as well as at Buckets and Birds. And, of course, I know you from your CAA beat days in Towson, and you've always had an affinity for small college basketball as well as football, but your main deal's out on the golf course these days, and certainly the President's Cup coming up and the FedEx Cup next couple of weeks. There's some good golf to be played when it's not raining around here, and I know Florida. I can't imagine the whole life down there and what's happened. My mother-in-law, my wife's mom lives down in the Sarasota, Florida area, and the storm came through there, and there's so many golf courses, so many homes on golf courses, so many lakes. Just a traumatic thing going on down there in the midst of all of this, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's something, Florida's the type, I think it's one of those things, almost everyone knows someone that lives there,
sure.
Whether it's an immediate relative or a retired friend or something.
And they probably golf in your world.
Right, and we, our company has several golf courses down there as well, and there was, talk Thursday and Friday about preparations for it, and to show that, there was certainly a lot of devastation down in the Keys and the Dominican Islands and everything, but Florida, for the most part, a lot of, came through not as bad as it could have been. And one of my friends joked with me today after it was all over. He was there in the central Orlando area, and he says, "Well, I always wanted to play on an island green, and now my golf course has one." So he said, so it'll recover. Chances are it'll take a couple weeks of cleanup and everything. And in the vein of being totally selfish, I have a golf trip scheduled to Jacksonville in 2 weeks, so I'll be paying close attention to how that course recovers in the next couple weeks. But beyond that, the pros begin playing again this week and resuming the FedEx playoffs. They'll be in Chicago for the second to last week of it. They're down to the final 70 players. And after this week, they'll take the top 30 into the Tour Championship, which will be in Atlanta in 2 weeks. And so they're all jockeying for position there, because the important thing about the final FedEx Cup week, once they go into the last week, the top 5 players will automatically be in position that if any one of them wins the event, they'll win the FedEx Cup. So if right now Dustin Johnson's sitting in third place, if he maintains that position and he wins that event, he wins the Cup via the way they have the point structured. And that came a few years back, well, more than a few, probably 10 years ago when they first started the Cup. Vijay Singh won like the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, and he was pretty much able to coast the rest of the week, the rest of the series, and no one was able to pass him. So they kind of weighted it toward the later events carrying more points now. So.
What's going on at Compass Point these days? I know you got a lot of things happening. As long as the weather's good, the course holds up nicely, right?
It is, yeah. We, the fall is one of the best times of the year to get out here. Past the summer heat, the course is still green. It's in beautiful shape. We have a couple events coming up. We have our craft beer open. It'll be coming up in October, which, we have a lot of the local craft brewery companies out here with some of their sampling.
Where the heck am I that day? That's what I want to know, man.
I think you said you were going to be in Minnesota. So,
I like beer. I am in Minnesota. It's the 21st of October, so I'm in Minnesota.
Right, yeah.
I'll be sampling beer there.
Well, there you go. And so that'll be one of our big things. And then we've got, of course, beyond that, we're busy with all of our outings during the month of September, which is kind of what I focus on throughout the year, getting those booked. I know you've got one of your own coming up here, I think, very soon. And so that's what we do. We put on outings. We, have players out for special events and just generally, have a good time on the golf course.
Nice. Well, you can find Robert Kennedy out on Twitter at Buckets and Birds, and of course at Compass Point Golf Courses at compasspointgolf.com and 410-255-7764. Keep the faith this week. Ravens are looking pretty good, and I know your Redskins are. Now that I know you got a little Redskins thing, I'm going to give you a kick every week on this. This is going to be fun.
Good. You'll be just one of many this week, because I'm surrounded by Ravens fans and even a couple Eagles fans. So it's it's going to be a long season.
Well, you keep some good company. You can't, the Eagles, you can get rid of those folks, but keep some Ravens in there. Just don't let any Steelers in there, They're like rats in a cellar. Everybody's got them,
Yeah, there's always one running around somewhere.
Well, they're happy this week, too. They're 1-0, too. So great having you on. He is Robert Kennedy. He is Buckets and Birds on Twitter. I'm in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world, and a morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and planetfitness.com. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Don't forget on Wednesday night, Greenmount Station's going to host us. Ryan Jensen and Austin Howard from the Baltimore Ravens O-line are going to come out, have a crab cake, and we're going to talk some football, talk about victory. 20-0 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Greenmount Station will be swabbing, talking football, eating crab cakes. Come on out. Ryan Jensen, Austin Howard, Wednesday night, 7:30 at Greenmount Station. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.